And welcome back to Music Means. It is time for How It Should Be with our own Daniel Marins. Daniel, what do you have today?
Well, David, there was a hashtag going around on Twitter this past week called hashtag Obamaquester. It was no, it's not a choose-your-own-adventure book in which you become president, Obamaquester. Instead, it was Republicans in Congress mocking the president for somehow being responsible for the sequester. Now, it's a dishonest claim, to be sure, because the Republicans were involved in the deal. In fact, they insisted on the kinds of spending cuts as part of the debt ceiling deal back in the summer of 2011 that made the sequester a reality. It was one of their conditions of the deal with President Obama. But I think that Obamaquester is how it should be. I think that that term actually encapsulates that the president, who should be held to something of a higher standard in terms of when we think about Democrats and spending cuts, because Democrats don't need to be the party of austerity. They shouldn't be the party of austerity. They haven't historically been that way. And yet the president created the circumstances in which the Republicans will be able to force him to do it. He has not made it the case clear that, in fact, spending cuts do hurt the economy, when all evidence to the contrary suggests that they do. Here's the set of events that led to the sequester, and you tell me whether the president could not have done anything. Okay, back in 2010, when Democrats lost the House of Representatives to Republicans in the midterm elections, there was a lame duck session of Congress after the elections had been settled in which all kinds of issues that led us into the kind of fiscal cliff that we were facing this past winter, New Year's Eve, were set in motion. And one of those was that they extended all of the Bush tax cuts for the rich, because the Republicans wanted it that way, and they're holding the middle class tax cuts hostage. Now, you could have gone and attacked the president, as many of us did at the time, for giving away the store. At the end of the day, the Democrats still had Congress for that lame duck session of Congress. They didn't need to set up all of these sort of expiring deadlines in which the Bush tax cuts would expire for another 2 years, or rather they would expire after another 2 years, and we would have to face the same hostage-taking situation. But the bigger hostage-taking situation was they didn't negotiate the debt ceiling as part of the lame duck session of Congress. The president could have said, you want to extend the Bush tax cuts for the rich? Here, fine. That's okay. It's a dumb idea in terms of deficit reduction, probably okay in terms of the economy in the short term, but you want to do that, you got to give me the debt ceiling right now. But no, the president didn't do that, and it boggled all of our minds. It didn't make any sense. And in fact, I was in a meeting as an advocate that I can now disclose with a staff member from the office of Senator Dick Durbin at the time, and we asked him, why wasn't the debt ceiling part of this deal? He had no idea. So, doesn't mean that there wasn't a reason. I happen to think what we've seen is that the president actually wants this grand bargain. He wants the $4 trillion. That's something around 2/3 spending cuts or 3/4 spending cuts. We've already gotten there with sort of $1 trillion in discretionary cuts, another $600 billion in new revenue over the tax deal. Now the president's going in for the kill. But it is the Obamaquester, because the president could be making the case that we can just undo the sequester. He could have been making that case. He could have made the case that the debt ceiling shouldn't be negotiated over. Instead, he set in motion this cycle in which the debt ceiling was negotiated over. Back in 2010, when he did have the leverage, and even this time when he stood them down, he showed that he can stand them down. But unfortunately, it still seems that the president wants a sequester. Now, the president has said that the sequester is these spending cuts, that they'll hurt the economy. And there's no question that they will. But it's not like this crisis came out of thin air. This was the Obamaquester. This was hashtag Obamaquester. I'm calling it that controversially. And if the president were so concerned about spending cuts hurting the economy, then why wasn't he concerned about it when we cut discretionary spending to the tune of $1 trillion, which the CBO now says is what has led us to negative GDP growth, is what is keeping our unemployment high. I mean, the new CBO budget outlook report came out this week, and if the sequester were to go into effect, or we had equivalent sequester-style cuts, okay, great. We now have a deficit, an annual deficit under $1 trillion. Meanwhile, unemployment's still at 8%, and our interest rates are around 2%. So we can afford to borrow much, much more. The bond markets are telling us now is the time to borrow. We're investing in the United States dollar. Go ahead, borrow, stimulate the economy, admit to Keynesian economics. And what's more, if you do really care about deficit reduction, this idea that we need another $1.5 trillion is really just pulled from thin air, because as economist Ethan Pollack at the Economic Policy Institute has found, you could stabilize the debt to GDP ratio in 2022 with something like $670 billion in deficit reduction, and that would include something like $90 billion in interest savings. So these baselines, these deadlines, they're totally ridiculous. The president wants smart deficit reduction. He needs to jettison the Obamaquester, repeal the Sequester without any offsets. Again, at least make that case to the American public. Make the case that spending cuts are hurting the economy. Every independent economic analysis has shown that, including the Congressional Budget Office. And that's how it should be. It shouldn't be an Obamaquester, but it is, and I want him to repeal it.
Daniel, great stuff. Excellent how it should be, as always. And folks, by the way, if you've missed any part of this show or any of our other shows, you can always catch How It Should Be through our Take Action News TV on YouTube. It is a great segment. Must listen.